Hello, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome to Wildflowers.
What's Peggy doing? What?
I'm coming.
Wait a minute.
She does.
Wait a minute. Did you get the memo? Did you? What?
I can't
We all
see you.
wore the same shirt.
What the
I
heck?
wonder what our podcast is going to be
know.
about today.
We got these from Peggy, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes. So for those of you who are listening, our shirts are all say the same thing. It says, pretend I'm a ghost. And we'll explain that later. So.
That's right.
But first I wanted to hear what's been going on with you ladies.
Well, I was really excited about our last podcast. I'm still reeling
That was
from
so much fun.
We had Mickey Grossman here, and we talked about psychics, and we actually had an audience member, and she liked it so much that she came back. Thank you, audience member.
Yay. Oh, and she brought her puppy with her
Yeah.
this time.
We like our dogs.
So we have two audience members. We have
Yes.
Savannah too, and you also met my dog Sherlock. No, wait, that I'm fostering.
No, that was a Freudian slip. It is your
That's
dog.
right.
So what's going on with you, Peggy?
Well, I wanted to share something with you guys. I volunteered. Remember, I did it a few years
Yes.
ago. Like I do the postcard
Oh, yeah.
sending out to remind people to vote. Because I'm not the knock on your door type
No,
of person.
neither am
I'm
I.
very uncomfortable with it. So
Yeah.
this is what I'm comfortable with. So I just got my 100 postcards from Nassau Indivisible.
Oh,
And these are the postcards. And all I have to do, they send you everything you need. They sent me 100 postcards. They sent me the address list of the people I'm to send it to. And then they send you like 3 things that you could write on the back. Like you choose what you want. I usually mix it up.
right.
And it's really, 100 postcards sounds like a lot, but I don't do it all at once.
Right.
I have until October 26th. I have to mail them then. They don't want you to mail it before. They want people to get it right before Election Day
That makes
to be a
sense.
good reminder.
And the date today
And,
is October 8th. So
Right,
that's-
today is October 8th and Election Day is November 3rd? November 3rd.
8th, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, November 8th, you're right. So I just do them like 10 at a time. Like if I'm watching Jeopardy, I'll sit there and I'll write 10 postcards out.
And when you're watching Jeopardy and doing the postcards, you just automatically answer the questions, the Jeopardy questions, mindlessly as you're doing.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure I do. I know all the answers of Jeopardy.
She uses
So-
distract that she doesn't know the answer.
Right.
Oh, I was distracted. I was
If
writing
you-
my postcards.
If you can't afford to buy the stamps, they will give you the stamps.
Oh,
that's
okay.
But I buy them, because it really helps them. It's a big
Sure.
expense.
Sure.
100 postcard stamps is $44.
Audience member, could you make sure that dog
Yeah, that
doesn't
dog
eat?
is trying to get all the carrots.
We have dogs.
So I just wanted to remind people about that. It's very, very important to vote, no matter who you're voting for. Exercise your right to vote.
Vote, please.
Yes,
Please.
very good. And because we're going to be talking about ghosts today, I have this book. It's called The Book of Useless Information, and it's just a really fun book. And I just randomly open up a page and look at something, and it's a lot of fun. And today I opened it up, and it opened up to this page: celebrities and their pets. And I noticed that one of them was in the Spirit of the Ghost podcast, Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, that's
so I said,
wow.
how fortuitous. And Edgar Allan Poe wrote essays, short stories, and long poems, most of them more than a little macabre. Poe's short story, The Black Cat, was inspired by his own tortoiseshell cat, Katerina, who curled up in bed with the writer's wife to keep her warm while she was dying of tuberculosis.
Oh,
So that's,
wow.
I'm reading from
I
the
love
book.
useless information.
So do I.
Yeah.
And there's lots of it in here. You see how fat it is? This is an updated edition, which is still pretty old. I have like a really old edition of it.
Wow.
So
Oh, that's That's awesome.
So, and also I've been, I just started volunteering at a food pantry in town.
I'm so
So,
impressed.
yeah, so I had my first day on Wednesday, and it was,
I don't know how you do this all pay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
well, it's because I'm retired. That's how I do it all. And I don't have two teenage daughters like you do. My kids are
I'm trying not to
older.
remind
It's
myself.
like a high-profile job.
That's
and,
right, I don't have a full-time job, and so that's how I do it.
No, that's great. And well, we did talk, I think, I don't know if it was on the podcast or each other, but how staying active is so important.
Oh,
even as,
sure.
Oh, trying new things. That was the last
Yeah,
podcast where we talked
yeah.
about that, not to become a Philistine. You know?
Right,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
right,
exactly,
yes, that's
yeah,
right,
no.
definitely.
Keep on growing. Keep on trying new
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Definitely. Well, something I was trying is trying to get to watch other podcasts. This is our number 11 podcast, and we're still learning. We know the sound quality
That's
isn't
my
perfect,
number.
but we're getting there. So the one podcast that I was listening to is called The Bar and the Bookcase, and it's with Jaden Lopez, and he interviews authors including Siddiq Fafsa. Is that his last name? The one that
Oh, Sadiq.
Sadiq,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah,
I don't have my
he's the one,
glasses.
the stories from the tenants downstairs.
Yes.
That
exactly.
was such an awesome book.
Right, so he interviewed him too,
Yeah.
and he goes into thoughtful detail about the books that he discusses, and it's just
Oh,
him.
and you're man
Yeah.
there.
And then I'm watching this other podcast needs no help from me, because trust me, it's called Smartless,
Yeah.
and it's with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. And it's-
Sean Hayes, is he the one from Will and Grace?
Yes.
And he's
Yeah.
funny.
I had to ask her who he was.
Oh, I
too.
know. He used to be
I didn't
Jack.
watch the
Yeah, just check. Yeah, no, and it's addicting. They're
I
very
haven't seen it.
entertaining.
I have
so,
not
yeah.
seen it. I'm gonna check that out. All
Yeah,
right.
so that's.
Is that on YouTube? Can you, or is it
You-
something you can listen to only, or is it?
Yeah, you can. It's on YouTube, but you listen to it. Like
Okay.
you don't need to. Yeah, there's no visual with that. But yeah, he. Smartless, like I listened to Martin Short on there, which was very entertaining. John Hamm, John Stewart.
Yeah, it
and-
must be
and-
pretty funny.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So yeah, so that's it. And when a movie I just saw, I didn't tell you the two of you, it's on Apple TV. It's called The Greatest Beer Run Ever.
I know that one.
I remember when that book
Yeah.
came out, I was at theaters,
Yes.
and that was
I know that
yeah.
book very well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very interesting
Yes.
movie, and just yeah, I highly recommend
It looks
that.
hilarious, and it's a true story.
Yeah, it's a true story. It's funny, but it's not hilarious.
But like, no, I
Yeah.
know what you. But the book was well written
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
You know, and it's. I think it would make a great movie. So when I
Yeah.
saw the trailer, I thought the trailer. was-
Zac
Yeah.
Efron,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Murray, Russell
You
Crowe.
didn't have to sell us that far.
Well, they just came out with a movie based on a book that I asked you guys if you want to come to the movies
I don't know what.
tomorrow.
Oh,
The
no,
story-
You didn't ask me.
You-
Oh,
asked her.
well, she was supposed to ask you.
No, no.
You said, we'll
You
see if
see-
Judy wants to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But anyway, it's the storied life of A.J. Frickery, and I read that book. We were at the bookstore. We had the bookstore when I read it, so probably 2016. It was a really, really good story.
And it looks
And that was
very
the movie.
interesting.
Interesting.
Are you doing anything tomorrow?
I am doing something,
Okay.
but you
Oh.
know, I now I could have changed my plans.
Well, how
but
about Monday? Monday's a holiday, aren't you
I'll
off?
have to think
Monday
about
I
it.
can't do it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'll think about it.
All right. Well, we don't
Well,
want
we
to.
can wait to go. We don't have to go tomorrow.
Well, I don't want to bore my
Yes,
viewers,
all right.
but what
Okay.
we do want to do is,
What we do
and we do so
So we
well.
do best.
It's my turn with the wine, and today's wine is Behringer Brothers Bourbon Barrel Aged Cabernet Sauvignon. Have you ever seen?
I have had a bourbon barrel aged Chardonnay.
Natasha said that last night.
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, I
I didn't
wonder
like it.
you didn't like
Bourbon
it."
barrel.
Okay.
I say that to
Interesting.
Yeah,
This is
bourbon
bourbon
barrel aged.
Well, this
Bourbon
has been
barrel
aged for 60 days in American oak bourbon barrels, and it also I can say that 3 times fast. And it's a 2019, and it's another one of those. Thank you,
It's a
Savannah.
good price point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a living label, so you can read.
Oh, I saw that
Oh,
one.
look at you.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to
The
watch.
living labels, that's where you put the phone
Like
up to
like
the label.
19 crimes, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Very.
Exactly.
Actually, the label kind of looks, has that same.
I know.
Yeah, it does. I wonder
Yeah.
if Behringer
Last
makes
one.
19 crimes.
Oh, that's a good question.
Now, what's the price on
This is about $18.
All right, that's good.
And yeah, I saw it and I was like, okay, this, and I haven't tasted it yet, so
Yes,
I'll be
thankful.
tasting it with.
I know she used to cheat and drink it the night before and then be like, oh, I like it.
I have to taste it.
So we had to give her a hard time about
And we
that.
actually have an audience member with some as well who's going to taste it and get, and
Alright.
she's not really a.
I'm not a wine connoisseur, but it's good. I like
Oh,
dry.
Oh wait,
Oh, you already tried
She
it?
already tried it.
Oh, it smells nice.
Well, we have to toast, okay? So this
Oh,
is
yeah.
our 11th podcast. 11 is my lucky number.
Is it?
It is. Oh, this does smell really nice.
11 is one of the numbers that I play on the roulette table when I do the very few times that I go to a casino.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. So what? So it's now, even though we're filming this on October 8th, this isn't going to air on October 8th.
No, this
so-
will air a week from today, so it would be
Like the 16th.
Yeah.
I don't know of anything to celebrate other than it's,
Oh.
you know.
Oh, on the 16th, I'm going to a brunch.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna.
My niece.
My anniversary is the 22nd.
Oh, okay.
So no,
Yes,
there
it
is.
is.
Oh, my
But not
niece
the
Amy
16th
just
yet.
had a birthday.
Oh, there you are.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
happy birthday,
happy birthday,
Amy.
and happy anniversary.
Anniversary to my
Happy
husband.
anniversary.
How many years?
Let's see. 17.
Ah, what's
17 is another number that I play all the time.
We don't focus on the, on all those numbers.
No, I don't
But he's a great husband, best man.
Yep.
Love him.
And I was in their wedding.
Yes, you
Oh,
are.
this is very good.
I'm not 100% sure yet.
Oh no, I like it immediately. It's good.
She likes it immediately.
It's thin.
It
Not-
has very, very nice
For
flavor.
a Cabernet, I think it's kind of thin.
No, I don't think it's thin.
I like the smell of it though.
a
Oh,
little
but you know I like the smell of that
It's a
last
little
one
too-
that I didn't
It's a
care
little
for.
too sweet for me.
Let me see.
Oh, it's not sweet. I
It's a
don't
little
mind
too
it.
sweet for me.
I don't taste the sweetness.
I do.
Now, I will drink pretty much anything you put in front of me. So, I mean, but
I like it.
Oh, good. All
it's
right.
not standing out to me. That's honest. That's all that. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not standing out to me. That's something I'd be like, I need to have that one again.
Yeah.
I
Not like
think,
that Quintos de Cavallo.
I think my
Oh,
son-in-law
that
would
was
like
awesome.
I had
this.
that the other night. I
I
opened up a
think-
bottle, me and Jessica. It was good.
So, yeah. So anyway, that's
All right.
Behringer wine, bourbon barrel, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's
But we will drink it, and we'll
I'm
probably
guessing
like it
don't
more
tag Behringer.
as we go.
I like it. I think it's good.
All right.
Okay. But, last night I gave, in the past we tasted the Abilene wine. That was Cameron Diaz's wine and
Yeah.
Catherine.
That's what
But-
this reminds me of.
But everybody that was here tasted it. I did a taste test. Even my ex-husband and his wife was here, and no one liked it except the birthday girl, and it was for her. So
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's
she
that's
liked
what
it.
it meant.
And I think
yeah.
the reason she liked it more than
Because you
What
did
is
it.
she doing?
no. It was no. She
Sorry,
liked it because
Courtney.
it had no sugars and it was a healthy choice.
Ah.
She's very health conscious, so I think that she's like, oh yeah, I like it. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's good.
But
anyway.
this reminds me of the Abilene wine. So if you like Abilene, then I think you will
I
like
think this
one.
has more flavor to it than the Abilene.
I feel like it
The
does,
Abilene
too.
was a little bland.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Maybe it's the Jim Gimlets.
Maybe. Now you're addicted to gin.
I will
And
still drink
still
it.
sticking with you, isn't it?
Yeah. I've become such a
So,
fan.
so today is Peggy's turn for the book.
Oh, for the book, it is.
Mhm.
So pardon me if I use my notes because I always get tongue-tied when I'm trying to review a book. I'm not good at reviewing books.
It's hard.
It is hard.
I
It is
agree.
hard, and I write notes and I said, "Oh, that sounds good," but I'm gonna sit
Do
here
you want to
reading.
wear my glasses?
No, I don't need glasses for reading. All right. So anyway, I just finished Hell of a Book by Jason Meyer.
That title always just cracks me up.
It is. It was a hell of a book. It really was. It was a very good book. There were parts of this book at times it was very confusing, and you don't really know what's going on. And then I realized like the narrator of the story is very unreliable.
Oh,
He is.
that's interesting.
The book is about an author who is going on a book tour, and the publisher is really, really promoting this very, very heavily. But he's unreliable because, and he admits right from the beginning of the story, that he has a condition which makes it difficult for him to distinguish between reality and imagination.
Oh, and you as the reader had to sort out which was which?
Yeah, kind of,
Wow.
when you're reading it. So, so the name of the book, in the book, his book, the character's book, is Hell of a Book. So, and everybody he meets, always says, oh, it's hell of a book.
Yeah.
Who's the author?
Jason Mott. He has other books, and one of his previous books is called The Returnables. I should have written that down. But they actually made a Netflix movie out of it, and that's about families, The Returned.
The return.
It's about families who have their departed relatives return to them. So it's I think I'm gonna watch it instead of reading it.
Yeah.
Because I have
That's on
a
Netflix.
stack of books. I think it's on Netflix.
I would
They
watch
said
that.
it was on there. So anyway, what the book is about. It's hard to determine, but the underlying theme of the book is really about police violence towards young black men.
Oh, wow.
That's really what it's about. And this author
Okay.
is touring, and he's under so much pressure because everybody wants him to represent his race. And he is like in denial. There are things in his life that are a big blank. So something tragic
Something
happened to
happens.
him. So he sees this boy, the kid, he calls him. The kid is here, that nobody else could see, and he has conversations with him. So that people don't think he's crazy. When he's talking to the kid, he'll pick up his cell phone and pretend that he's talking on the phone, but
That's
he
a good
knows that
idea.
nobody else could see this boy. And then
Wow.
each chapter alternates. Like one chapter is, you could actually distinguish when you look at the first page of the chapter. One page is his voice, and the other chapter is the voice of, this is him. If you see the adult man with the hat, this
Right.
is his story.
Oh, that's clever.
Now, did you have to pick up on that?
Yeah, it took me a while. I knew that it was different voices,
Right.
but then I realized I could tell that this is a young boy called Soot. And the reason why Soot is called Soot is because he is very, very black, and that was a nickname,
Aw.
a hurtful nickname given to him when he was in school. So, what else can I say about this book?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
This is like from a writer's point of view. Could you distinguish the two voices? Were they distinguishable?
Yes, they
Okay.
They were distinguishable. But I didn't catch this
Right.
at the beginning because I go right to the words,
Sure,
you know. So,
sure, yeah.
and then I said, you can tell who's going to
And
be
that's important because
speaking.
that book that I read, These Ghosts Are Found in Maisie Card, she did a
Right.
very good job of distinguishing the voices because there was a lot of characters
That's a
in
lot.
that
That's
book. That
hard.
was very talented.
Yeah. So anyway, because he lives in this alternate universe,
Right.
he's always getting into trouble. And once the book is published, he's always getting drunk. And then, but you do find out that he just started drinking,
Ah.
in the book, because he's under all this pressure to represent his race. But I just wanted to read a little part of this for you, and this is happening when the young boy Soot, he and his father are watching TV, and there's just been a police shooting of a young black boy. So it says, Soot would not take his eyes off the television as a picture appeared on screen. He was about Soot's age, lighter skinned, of course. Everyone was lighter than Soot. In the photograph, the dead boy wore a blue baseball cap and t-shirt. His smile was wide and bright like a winter's morning after snow has slipped in silently in the late of the night. What's his name? Asked Soot. I don't know, William said. They're keeping the name private for now. I want to know his name. Why? So that I don't forget him, Soot said, staring at the picture on the television screen. He gazed as though he were trying to memorize all that the dead boy was. I can't forget him.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
I can't even read the rest of it because it's just very, very heartbreaking.
Okay, right,
But
right.
I'm up to hear it.
All
This
right.
is his
So you're
father,
gonna get me
William.
to choke up. All right.
It's just
William's thumb and forefinger rubbed together faster. He swallowed, trying to keep back the tears and trying to find the words to tell his son. You will forget him. He tried to find the words to say, this boy is only the first of many that you will meet over your life. They will stack upon one another week by week. You'll try to keep them in your head, but eventually you'll become too full and they'll spill out and be left behind. Wow. And then one day you'll grow older and you'll realize that you've forgotten his name, the name of the first dead black boy that you promised yourself you wouldn't forget. And you'll hate yourself. You'll hate your memory. You'll hate the world. You'll hate the way you failed to stop the flow of dead bodies that have piled up in your mind. You'll try to fix it and fail, and you'll drown in rage. You'll turn on yourself for not fixing everything, and you'll drown in sadness. And you'll do it over and over and over again for years. And one day, you'll have a son, and you'll see him staring down the same road that you've been on, and you'll want to say something that fixes him, something that saves him from it all, and you won't know what to say. William wanted to say all of the correct words to Soot, but they were not in his mind. All that was in William's mind was the image of his son lying on the concrete, dead, just like all the boys that came and went on television.
Wow.
it's very, very
Wow.
powerful message in this book. And some parts of this book are hysterical. I mean, you will find yourself laughing
You
at
wouldn't share that with us.
because you need the comic relief when you're reading about something like this. I mean, this author like lives in this crazy world of his, and like he has imaginary encounters with Nicolas Cage on airplanes, and it's really is. It's a great book. It
Did it just come out?
it came out in 2021 in hardcover. Now it's in paperback, and it won the National Book Award in 2021 when it came out.
Are you gonna
And
call
it's
it?
the
It's
really
You'll probably get to it before I will.
I'm not
so you
sure.
Get to it.
Yeah.
Sure,
But
but
no,
I
it does
really
sound
want
like
to read
So
it.
I give it a lot of stars. I don't know what our scale
that was a
is
very
for the
good-
podcast, but
5
but
wine
it's
glasses.
if it can make me cry,
3
it's
wildflowers.
I never
Yeah,
cry.
I was a little choked up there because I've never seen you cry.
Yeah,
No.
it's it really hits
Peggy's
home.
not a crier.
No.
So,
No, I'm not a
so,
crier,
Yeah, that
so.
was.
But that's very powerful then,
Yes.
and it's because it's so
Because
real.
it's so real, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
no,
authentic.
it
I'm
absolutely.
psychic. You didn't know.
No, Mickey said I was psychic.
He
I
just
didn't
didn't
say
read me
you.
right.
No, it's
Mhm.
you know what? That's the power of books and the power of reading, and you know, I wish more people read because it's just you get pulled into this world. I mean, yes, a movie's awesome, it's fun.
Now it's
and,
all about YouTube videos. We live from one YouTube or TikTok video to the next.
not that we don't
No,
want
we
them
want you to
No.
watch our YouTube.
I'm being authentic. That's what it is.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
absolutely.
and I'm not necessarily in podcasts. Podcasts are fine, I think, because you're actually listening. It's like a lecture sometimes.
Right.
You could
Right,
learn
right.
something. But it's these silly videos that
Yeah.
just
Right.
come on a cycle
Yeah,
and a
well, that's
loop.
for entertainment. They serve their purpose also.
They do.
But the thing about reading a book is that it
Yeah.
puts you in the shoes of whoever you're reading about.
Yes.
Like it teaches you empathy.
Right.
I know that's your favorite word.
It is.
But it really does. I mean, you could, you read about how somebody else's life is.
Mhm.
It takes you outside of yourself.
Absolutely. And what we did after our last podcast the following day is that we ended up going to the movies to see Catherine Called Birdie
Yes.
because of the book that was you recommended.
Yes, yeah.
They invited me that time.
I really thought she said we'll have to ask Judy if she could go. I thought that she did.
all right. And I assumed
Whatever.
that you were going to, Michael.
Whatever.
anyway,
I'm just
yeah,
joking.
No. But yeah, so
that was very good. That movie was very good, very well done. That was done by Dunham, right? Lena Dunham.
Lena Dunham, yes,
Right.
yes, she produced it, and I don't know if she probably directed it too.
I don't know any of those people, so don't ask me. I know who wrote it. It was Karen
I know Lena
Cushman.
Dunham.
Yes. And Karen, thank you because you did like the post that we shared on Twitter about it. So
She did?
Yeah.
Yay! That was very nice.
No.
So you're probably wondering if you just happened upon watching this that we're going to be talking about ghosts. So we're going to pause very briefly and then come back
As ghosts.
That's right.
Oh my God! Yes, absolutely.
Does
All
that
right,
mean
see you
that we
soon.
have to die?
No. Welcome back.
Hello there.
Let's get our other.
Ooh.
That was kind of corny.
Yes.
All right, but the reason Peggy was so great to get us these shirts, as I said earlier, they say "Pretend I'm a Ghost," and they're white shirts. They're kind of cool. Good for Halloween. This is probably the only costume my daughters will allow me to wear.
Well, I'm
Even
going
though
to tell you
every
the
year I
story.
want to wear a costume, they won't let me wear it.
I'll tell you the story of this shirt.
Tell me.
I was in Old Navy about 2 months ago, and I always look at the t-shirts because I live in t-shirts and yoga pants, as you both know. And I saw this shirt, Pretend I'm a Ghost. And it reminded me of my granddaughter, who is just turned
Riley.
14, because she's other,
She's
She
awesome.
She
Riley's
really
awesome.
is.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to get this because I think Riley will really appreciate this shirt. And she loved it. And then she told me, she goes, oh, my friends love my shirt too. Grandma, thank you. It's so great. And then I said, wow, we're going to be doing a podcast on ghosts. I'm going back to Old Navy, and I couldn't find them. So I asked a sales associate, I said, I bought this shirt, Pretend I'm a Ghost. I need 3 of them. And she's looking it up. She goes, we have plenty of them, but we couldn't find them. And she finally gave up. She
Ghosts.
said, I guess we don't really have them. And I just continued looking, and I found
Oh
a whole
my
stack of them
God.
back in the children's section. They put them in the
Of
wrong
course she
place.
did.
Uh-huh.
Of course
That's Peggy. That's
You
Peggy.
were like the one that could find the children's book in the mess of the children's room. Like,
Yeah.
give me 10 minutes.
Oh, I know where that book is.
I'll find it. You know, that was
Yeah.
so you.
So anyway, I just thought
No,
that
they're awesome.
it'd be
No, I
cool
love the
for
way
our
that they're
podcast.
cut. I do like the way they're cut.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're very comfy.
But we're
yeah.
not talking about shirts. We're
No,
talking
we're not.
about
No, we're
we're
not.
talking
Oh,
about
we're not.
sorry about that.
Yes,
Go
because
ahead.
we're trying to be a theme, kind of to Halloween. We thought this would
Right.
kind of work out. The last podcast we talked with Mickey Grossman, who is a psychic, and this time I said we're moving toward the ghost Halloweeny, and there was something I wanted to lead this discussion off with, and Mickey kind of touched on it, which it caught my ear.
Yeah.
Now, you might remember from the last podcast, we talked about the book, The Other Einstein, which dealt with Albert Einstein, obviously physics, and Mileva Maric, physics extraordinaire as well. When I think of ghosts, I think of physics.
Oh.
Okay, and so the physics is not something I ever knew about. It was after I graduated college when I really started getting into physics, and I love it. And I kind of regret that I didn't get it into earlier because I had a college roommate named Karen. If she ever sees this, she's a physics major, brilliant girl, and I could have had all these good discussions with her about physics. But the first law of thermodynamics: energy is never created or destroyed. In a closed system, which the universe is a closed system, we have the same amount of energy in this universe now as we did back at the Big Bang, or whatever
Wow.
you believe
Right.
the universe was created. And so when I think of ghosts, or what the population thinks of ghosts, I see as energy. And Mickey kind of said something similar.
Yes,
Right,
you did.
right.
Yes.
And so I wanted to lead off from there. Is it possible that these ghosts that everybody thinks about is just energy? Energy is just converted from one form to the other. Doesn't mean it has to stay in that form forever. We don't
Right.
stay in these forms forever.
Right.
When we die, first law of thermodynamics proves we will be another energy.
Right.
Right.
Whatever that energy is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So perhaps ghosts or the forms of it are just different energy.
I've heard that before, that a lot of
Right.
people think that a ghost is just a person's energy that's
Still
lingering.
Right,
It's,
right.
you know,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, it's funny because I don't know, maybe I was 12 years old and I was in the hospital I wasn't in the hospital, I was visiting my grandmother in the hospital with my mom. And the woman in the bed next to my grandmother, a very old woman, and my mother leans in, she goes, I don't think she's alive anymore.
Dear.
And the nurse came and she wasn't, and my grandmother goes, well, let's see if we can see her energy leaving.
Mm.
And she, and we didn't, and nobody did, but Lisa had an experience, and I don't hope I'm not railroading the conversation.
No, but what I wanted to, what you just said touches on, and we'll get
Go
back to
ahead,
this,
yeah,
is, as I was thinking about this podcast, is this concept of energy leaving.
Mhm.
What is something that a lot of people have done traditionally, in many cultures, when somebody dies, they open a window.
Yes, yeah, I
Right?
have heard that, yep.
Because,
Yeah, because you don't
yeah.
want to trap the spirit.
You don't want to trap the energy.
You don't want them in your house.
My mom, when she came here, was like, one of the things that bothered her about the energy in this house, even though she loves this house,
Right.
is that we keep all the windows always closed.
Closed.
She's very
Oh,
into that also,
interesting.
like keeping
That was
the
from our
window
audience
open.
member. We have an audience
Yes.
member.
So our
exciting.
audience is growing.
Yes. Yeah.
If you would like to be a part of this audience, please.
Whether you're living or not. honey.
Tickets are
But
available.
going back, you said Lisa
Yeah.
is a fan of ours, a friend of
Yeah,
ours.
yeah, she's a fan and a friend,
friend.
absolutely. And years ago, she was living in an apartment with her husband then. I don't know if they had the baby yet, but all of a sudden she goes, like this, like she said, Chuck, do you feel that? And I don't know if he did or not, I don't remember, but she felt like this cold something going through her. Like she woke up and this, sometime later, maybe about an hour later, she heard ambulances and the woman downstairs had died.
Wow.
She told me that story before.
Yeah, did
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
And it was that real to her. So
Yeah.
when you say energy, that sounds like what happened to that woman.
I've had lots of experiences with feeling the energy, with seeing the energy.
What about
and
smell?
I never
No.
had the smell one.
no, I know
No,
you mentioned smell.
Yeah, Lisa again had the smell, the carnations, and her grandmother. She wasn't, whatever. A family friend that was like a grandmother had died, and all of a sudden Lisa wasn't even thinking about her, whatever. She was in the laundry room, and all of a sudden she got this, and she just said, "I knew she was there," and she just started crying because she missed her. But it was like a memory of her, and she just that was an intense feeling for her.
But speaking like I know we're tying back a little bit to Mickey. Mickey believed, this is the psychic from the last one, believed that you have a choice. You could either go on, you could
Right.
stay, whatever.
Right.
And then it made me think, as we're talking about ghosts, is people who choose maybe to stay around and love them. But what about these stories we hear? I grew up in Amity Harbor, which is right next to Amityville. So anytime somebody finds out I'm from Amityville or
Right.
Harbor, like, oh my goodness, the horror house. If you're not
Yeah.
from Long Island, they think that's the first thing. Then I ended up working in Salem, Massachusetts, and it's a ghost. I'm sorry, Salem, Massachusetts, and again, that's known for witches and
Yes,
right.
spirits and all of that, and made me start thinking about, can there be, what causes this energy to become a negative energy,
yeah.
which it's also like a white magic, dark magic. Is there
Yeah.
Right.
something like into
Yeah.
that? So
That's
what are your
interesting.
thoughts on that?
I would think that it's the way that the person lived when they were alive. Because I lived in a house, I grew up in Bushwick, and we lived in an old brownstone, 3-story
I
brownstone.
love that house.
And that house was very, very creepy. We were afraid a lot of the time. There was a hallway upstairs going into the bedrooms that all of us, when you went through it, you ran. And I used to make the sign of the cross.
Oh, really?
My sister
Okay.
Monica used to pretend there was a gate there. She used to go like this and lock the gate. because
Okay.
we all of us felt like there was something there
So it's
waiting
not
to come
just
and
one
get us.
of you, you
No.
all felt that.
No, and from a young age, like we had asked my dad, you know, we said, these things are happening in our house. And he said, oh, there's a poltergeist probably. That's what a poltergeist is called. That was the first time I ever heard of that
Right,
word.
Right.
And he made a joke out of it, but through our lives living there, a lot of creepy things happened in that house.
Wow.
And it wasn't, like I know some people see spirits and they're not afraid because it's someone that they loved, but this was like you always felt threatened.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how did you deal with it?
Made the sign of the cross a lot, and we lived there, but I remember the day that we moved out of that house, I was going to work and I knew I was never coming back to it, and I was so happy.
Wow.
I was so happy that I never had to be in that house again.
Well, I always remember the story that you tell about the guy that showed up at the door with the gate.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that one.
Well,
Yeah.
share it because it's creepy.
Well, it could be creepy or not, but being the house that it was, I was a little girl, we were all sitting down eating dinner, and someone rang our doorbell, and it was a very old house. It was built in the 1800s, and the entrance to our house was this big wrought iron gate that you locked with a skeleton
Oh,
key.
that's kind of cool.
And then you walked into this little vestibule and then through the wooden doors. So I went out, running out, I was a little girl, and there was a man standing there in this suit, very, very pale, very gaunt, very tall, and he just said, "Can a poor old man get something to eat?" And I was like, so I just ran away and I ran into the kitchen. I said, "Mom, there's a poor old man, he wants something to eat." And my brother Joe got up, and he was the oldest son. My dad wasn't home, and he went out and just kind of like locked the door, the gate, because the man was just creepy. And the neighborhood I lived in, you knew everybody. It was like living in a small town. Like you lived in your parish, you knew everybody that lived there. And I didn't think of anything at the time because I was a little girl, but as I got older, I said, that man looked like a corpse. He looked like he could have just stepped out of a coffin. So that isn't even one of the creepiest things that happened to me when I was living in that house.
Well, do tell. I want to hear more.
Well, I have a couple. I asked my sisters, you know, because we all grew up together, to just relay, you know, something that happened to them very, very, very quickly. So, two of them are from the house that we lived in, but one of them is not.
Okay.
So my sister Maureen sent me this one. She said, "To me, my ghost encounters were different in that it entered my dreams. The same exact recurring dream for years, and the only way to get out of the nightmare was to try to wake up. I escaped the dream. If I escaped the dream, I would be in an altered state and know I was in it and had no control. I remember my movements were slow and exact, and I would go downstairs in search of someone to see me and help me. Oftentimes, I would go to the basement door. The basement was the creepy part of the house. A lot of things happened.
The basement is always the creepy part.
And you know what? And I know why they do that in movies, because that was the
It's
creepy part of the
true.
house in
It's
my
true.
house. And Kevin, our brother, would catch me. Sometimes I would stay in that state for a long time. I always knew it was a ghost doing this to me and was frightened. Once we moved out of that house, the dream stopped, the altered state stopped. And Maureen was constantly, it wasn't like regular sleepwalking. It was like she knew that she was in that state, and she used to ask you to get me out of here.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Nora's ghost story was when my mom was dying.
Right.
Okay, so it was not in that house, it was at Nora's house.
Okay.
And Nora's kind of like you. She's like very intuitive, and she picks up on
Pretty
things.
and smart, and, you know.
Yeah, beautiful, smart.
Hi, Nora.
All right, she calls her ghost story someone to talk to. So back in 2003, I was doing a hospice in my home for my mom. Mom stayed in my bedroom and I slept on my pull-out sofa. I always had a baby monitor on so I could hear my mom at all times. One night about 2 a.m., Mom was having a particularly rough night and therefore I could not sleep. It was very distressing to hear her breathing and moving about in her bed. I didn't dare call any of my sisters at this time of the night, as I did not want to alarm them. Therefore, I sat on my sofa and began speaking with my sister Eileen, who had passed away. I was just speaking with her and expressed how I wish I had someone to talk to about my mom's restless night. Suddenly, my phone rang, and it was my brother Kevin calling to inquire if everything was all right. I explained to him how Mom was having a bad night, and in turn I was stressing out. I asked what made him call me at this hour of the morning. Keep in mind, my brother rarely called me at all. His reply to my question was that Eileen woke him up by calling his name and told him to call Nora.
Yeah, she did.
You getting it?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking he was dreaming, he closed his eyes and went back to sleep, but suddenly he was slapped across his face and again told
As a good
to
sister would.
call your sister Nora. My sister's spirit remained in my house during the remaining time I did hospice and visited my mom a few times. After my mom passed, Eileen came to visit me from time to time. I have not sensed her in a long time, but she was there for me and for my mom at a time we both needed her.
Wow.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, and then so.
Yeah.
I believe in those things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there is something about the telephone.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not free to share a couple of stories because they're not my stories to share. Well, one I could kind of, I don't want to bring in the names, but
Use pseudonyms, I will.
I was awakened at 6 o'clock in the morning by someone very close to me.
Let's call him Bob.
Yeah. And I had this long conversation with her, and it was creepy and it was disturbing, and I was horrified, and I needed to call her back later that day, and there was no answer. I called that night, no answer. Finally, that was like on a Saturday morning that I got the call. Sunday night I got through to this person, and she says, I have no idea what you're talking about. I never called you. I don't even know.
Could she have been sleep talking?
I had this is back when you had landlines and stuff. I had the phone company, but this was after the fact, and I said, could you trace this phone number? I need to know where this was. And the woman was so lovely, and she just the operator or whatever couldn't help me. No, because she wasn't home. The person that I'm referencing wasn't home.
Okay.
And my uncle had just died, and one thing I said to this person, I don't want to give anything away. It's like, I can't believe
So and so.
so-and-so didn't go to his funeral. I'm just so shocked because they were so close. But everything I said to this person, like, she was so removed from. Like, she didn't really acknowledge.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened to Lisa's brother Nicky. Something had happened to him that was devastating, and he got a phone call, and he thought it was his Aunt Marie. But it turned out that she had called him, and it could have been his mother who had passed many years ago. So that with the phone call,
Yeah.
It could go, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes. I still think of it as this energy. You know,
Right,
maybe an
yeah.
energy is in a state, and it's staying around. You know, and lingering for there. I've had lots of it goes through since I could think about when I was a child, going through up until just not too long ago. And for me, what's easy for me is animals. I can sense energy of animals that have passed and see it very clearly.
You hear them walk.
And visual, but I had a human. I've seen humans pass, and I've actually had humans come to me looking to cross over as well, and you're always in a dream state, and then I always have to then walk them over.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But a recent human experience, I'll change the names because it's not it's my story, but it's not,
Right.
It involves other people.
it involves other
Right.
people. And this was last year, and on a rare occasion, my husband was working at night, the girls went to bed, and I was sitting down in my room reading a book. It was probably around 11 o'clock at night, and like, great time, like magical. I didn't have to work the next day, the girls were asleep, I was on the bed reading, and I had a book, no wine, because I don't drink that late, and so I was just reading a book.
Right.
I was in there for about an hour when all of a sudden I heard a voice, clear as a bell, and it was a female voice that says, I'm Gonzalez. Okay, that's not the last name,
Right.
but that's not the chosen name, but it's a last name. And I look up and I go, what? And I get up out of my bed to see maybe the girls are in the hallway. They're fast asleep in their room. There's nobody else in the house. I know that's weird. So I go to the bathroom. And then, of course, once I'm up, anybody who has animals knows if you're up, the dogs get up. And now they have to go outside.
Right.
So I bring them outside at night at that time because I don't want them chasing raccoons or whatever's in my backyard. And as I'm out there, I have a very long backyard, dark, very wooded area, and I hear this voice again. I'm a Gonzalez. And I go, and I go, who is this? And it's another voice came, the same voice, something, and it said a middle name with Gonzalez. I didn't know it was, I thought it was a first name.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, who the heck is so-and-so? I recognized the last name, but I didn't recognize the first name. Now I'm freaking out because I'm like, this is really strange. I've never had that happen.
Right.
And I go upstairs to my room and get the dogs in, give them their cookie, go to bed. I go in there and I Google that first name, what I thought was a first name, and the last name. And what pops up is an obituary from my cousin's daughter.
Oh boy.
And that was her middle name. She had died 6 months ago. And and part of the message was, you need to know, remember me.
Oh.
And this part of the family has been estranged for a while.
Right.
And they never called to tell us she had passed. She died in a car accident.
Oh gosh.
And this is how I learned she died.
Wow.
She came to tell me that she wanted this side of the
Right.
family somehow to know that she died.
Yeah.
And so we did the appropriate things, like, we did our candles, we did our prayers, and hopefully she finds peace, the soul.
Right.
But that is an energy that was around, and she came and sought out.
Yeah, they had a mission. They had something.
To let
yeah.
and to find out, and that was, and then the other one more recently was just this in June. It was a chicken, my chicken. I think did I tell you this with my
No.
chicken?
No.
Oh, my girls will yell, but my favorite chicken, Maple.
Right.
Oh my God, I was going on vacation in June. And of course, just like any other time your pet gets sick, before, about a week before I leave, and now poor Maple is sick. So I separated her, I did everything I could for her. I was like, and she looked like she was getting better. She was starting to eat, to drink, like perfect. She's gonna perk up, because chickens do that. They can perk up in no time. So I tucked her in a way. She was separated from the others, but in a safe environment, because I have very spoiled chickens. And I went to bed, and then around 5, 6 in the morning, I wake up. You know the sound of like feathers, it's like a bird fluttering.
Yeah.
Now Pongo was on my bed sleeping because Niall was still at work, and
Pongo is her dog.
my dog.
Yes.
And I woke up the sound of feathers fluttering, and then a big boom, thump. Now Maple's a huge bird. She's 12 pounds she was. And when I woke up, I saw the shadow go diagonally through over and down on the floor. And it wasn't just me that saw it, because Pongo got up, and I saw him go, and then he got up and went off the bed to look over what that area was.
Wow.
And I go, what was that? I'm like, is there like a bat in here? Like, what is it? I get up, I go, oh my God. And then I go, oh no.
So you know.
Yeah, and then I went down to go check on Maple. she died, and she had just died because she was still warm. She had
Yeah.
rigor hadn't set in yet. She had just died,
Wow.
and I go, oh.
Yeah.
I said, my poor girl. You know,
Wow.
but she came to say
She
goodbye.
came to say
And I said,
goodbye.
oh. And Pongo saw it.
Oh,
And I mean, I could go on. I mean, I've had
You have it.
Niall has seen it.
Yes.
And
the
Yeah.
cat and the
the
keys.
cat, you know, yeah, we have quite a lot of,
Yeah.
you know,
And I
incidents.
think
Yeah.
what's interesting, and this might go back to like the whole Mickey conversation, some people are more intuitive or I tend to block those things because I get, what's the matter?
I took your wine glass. Just realized that.
I was wondering why you moved it over that way.
Do you want it back? Sorry.
It's fine, it's fine.
You don't
No,
want her
it's fine.
please?
No, I don't mind.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine, whatever. No, I didn't love the wine either. No, I feel like, you know, well, Natasha, maybe both my girls paid for me to go to do past life regression.
Oh, yes.
And so, I went, he could not get me to give up whatever that I needed to give up to do it because I'm just,
I wouldn't give it up, would ya?
I would not give it up, no, I just like, because no.
You have to be open when you do something like that. You have to open yourself up.
Yeah,
I think that's partly true, but I also think you need a quality person to lead you because
Yeah.
I have to say I'm open, and I
Yeah.
had the very first time I went, I was skeptical as anything,
Yeah.
but the person was phenomenal,
Yeah.
and I had a great experience. And
That
then the
was
other
that
times
woman
I went,
Carol Danica?
no.
Oh, because remember we were all going to do that once for the
Yeah,
book
we were
club?
all gonna,
Yeah, no, this was even years before I met you. This was before
Yeah.
I met you both.
Okay.
And so, and then I went another time, and
Nothing.
Yeah.
nothing, you know. So I think you really need
No,
a
it's very-
quality person
Yeah.
to lead you.
Yeah,
in
we
that.
should do that someday. We always talked about it and then we
I
never
really think it's more
did.
like like a yoga nidra state. Like you really have to be open to.
I think I would have been more comfortable in a group setting. I think it was just me and him, and I just was like,
Yeah.
just wasn't ready to give up the spirit.
Well,
Yeah.
I've had past life regression that, like I said,
Oh, I
first time,
know.
and I actually found my notebook recently where I wrote, because I wrote it. They
Barkley?
encourage you.
Wasn't
No,
that-
Lockwood.
Oh,
And they
okay.
encourage you to journal. And I ended up, after leaving that session, I journaled pages upon pages upon pages of details. College rule, back and front, we're talking about notebook. And with details and names and dates and towns and everything. And then now that I have the beauty of Ancestry.com, thank you
Yeah.
very much, I was able to validate that
Right.
this was a real person.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was me,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Yeah.
And,
What,
and
you a
things
man?
mattered. I was a man.
Yeah.
And
I was, yeah.
And what you did.
Well,
I-
you always say that you have man hands.
I do. I have man hands.
No,
Yeah, I
she
do.
said she did have men.
I did.
When you went to turn
Right.
off the alarm
The
clock.
next, right, they had said, after what had explained is that you may still have these effects afterwards. And sure
Yeah.
enough, that next morning when I went to
Yeah.
turn off my alarm clock, I
Uh-huh.
saw the arm of a man
Yeah.
still there. It was
For
really
some reason, I thought it was
weird.
a Barkley friend.
No.
But we are almost out of time.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So what should we do, gals? Should
Well, I have a couple of other little stories.
I could
So
go
we
on
could-
forever.
I know. We could actually stop and start again if
All
you
right.
want.
Even if we just talk for ourselves, we
Yeah.
can stay with it. We hope you stay with us. But if you, I have a
Okay.
ton more stories,
Yeah,
and I know.
okay.
I have tons of more
Yeah,
stories
Yes, you
too.
do. I
So,
know.
all right. So you want me to
Sure.
pause
all right.
it and then restart?
Yes,
let's
absolutely.
do that.
And maybe I can have some wine.
Perhaps. A new glass. I'm gonna double fist it now. Okay, part
With-
3. Really, we're back.
Hey, we picked some really good topics that
Oh,
we just
gosh.
can't stop talking
We
about.
can't stop. We have so much to talk about, but I want to bring back some oldie but goodie. I know I probably mentioned this to you, but the connection with animals and energy is my very, very, very first dog, which I ever had, was a Schnauzer named Bruno. And after he passed years ago, long time ago, I would see him on occasion, and it just became normal. Like I would just see this dog pop up every now and then.
And in your house,
Yeah,
like that.
you're
Okay.
just in my house or whatever.
So you actually see him,
Yes.
like as like translucent or
No,
like just like a vague.
no, I see him.
Yeah.
I could just see him
Okay.
like walking. Yeah, just like the
Yeah.
other, whatever.
Right.
It was him, but whatever. And then my husband and I got married, and we were on our honeymoon,
I know
and
this
we
story.
stayed in a B&B, historic B&B. When I walked in there, I was like, oh, it's beautiful, but I was like, oh God, I go, there's something off
Yeah.
in here, you know, and he goes, really? I go, yeah, there's something off in here, but I didn't know what it was. And then a couple of nights into the honeymoon, we had been out late, I went to a nice restaurant, went to drink, and then it was probably around 3, 4 in the morning, we were already asleep, and I hear this growling, and I go, I look over, Niall's passed out, it's not him. And I'm like,
It's not growling.
He's not growling.
Thank goodness. On the honeymoon.
Oh, yeah. And I'm like, what is it? So I wake him up and I go, do you hear that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, there's a dog growling. And I go, yeah. I go, but where is the dog? And then just as we said that, there was I get up, running on the, and there were wood floors, running on the wood floors, and something went under the bed mattress went up.
Oh my goodness.
I remember you telling me this story.
And he was like, what the F, was that? And I go, and I don't know, whatever. I go, I told you there was something in here. And I go, I think it was my dog that just chased this, I think it was Bruno that kind of chased whatever was in here out.
Oh, okay.
And so and then we had no problems. Like after energy was fine, the rest of the trip, it was actually really kind of cool. Fast forward, now I'm pregnant, not after the honeymoon. And yada, 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 I'm pregnant. So, I'm pregnant, and I was in our Boston and living in Boston at the time. My husband takes a picture, fine, of me with my huge belly. Don't think anything of it.
She was pregnant with twins.
Twins, yeah. And when we get the pictures developed, because this was the time when you got pictures developed.
Yes, yeah.
Hovering over my stomach is the image of my schnauzer from when I was a child. And we still have the picture. I should have bought it. I just couldn't find it. But if I find it, I will bring it here because I will show you.
Yeah.
And he's hovering over my stomach. And since then, I haven't seen him.
Wow.
I think he's now protecting my kids.
Oh.
Because
You know, it's funny that you saw it in a photograph because last night I was talking to my sister Monica on the phone. And in her house that she lives in now, there's been a lot of activity in her house and sometimes very, very scary. Like her son Danny has run out of that house with his girlfriend. It gets very, very scary. But once she was up there, she redecorated the 2 rooms upstairs is where most of the activity is. And she had redecorated, just got finished painting her son's bedroom. And she said, oh, it looks so nice. So she took a picture.
Yeah.
And then when she got the pictures, there was a young boy in the picture, not like a human standing there, but the image of this boy looking back at her. And her husband used to work at night, and when he came home, he used to say a lot of times he saw a young boy in the house. He saw his father out in the yard smoking a cigarette, sitting at a table. There's been a lot of scary activity. And I called her last night, and she said, Peggy, I don't have the picture anymore. I could kick myself. It was on an old cell phone. She said, I never downloaded it. My sister Nora thinks she might have it on an old laptop, but I said, oh my God, I would love to. I remember seeing the picture.
I'm going to look for the picture.
Yeah.
You know, and I should have looked for it. I thought I was going to do a different, I remember I thought I was doing a different topic today, so I wasn't as prepared as I should have been today, but I do have the picture. If I find it, I will bring it.
Yeah, you have to bring it.
But I mean, there was I had another dog. I'm very connected to the animals, and that's always just been who I am. And I had a dog who I rescued who was blind, and one of the best dogs in the world. Skippy was his name.
I remember Skippy. Me and Jessica took care of him once when you went
did.
away. Yeah,
he was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved that dog, and he was just my rock. And anytime I was anxious or nervous, like that dog just got me through so many things, and he had his own challenges. And I remember I was arguing for the first time in one of the highest courts in Massachusetts, which is really an intimidating thing. You're going against a panel of judges.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you see in the Supreme Court where they just throw questions at you. And I was so nervous. Niall couldn't be with me because he was working. And it's a huge courtrooms where the public can come, and of course it's always packed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I remember thinking, oh God, I wish Skippy was here. Like, and I know it's just a weird, but for some reason, just having him near me calmed me down. And I was sitting in the bed waiting for my case to be called, and all of a sudden so I have to say he was a Shepherd mix. Okay, he was a German Shepherd mix. That's important, and he looked like a German Shepherd, and so all of a sudden, just as I remember thinking then, saying it, I look over to my right, and standing in the aisle next to me is a German Shepherd, a real one. This was not a ghost.
Yeah.
It's a real German Shepherd, and he's the seeing eye dog of a blind man.
Oh, wow.
And my dog was blind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
And I go,
Yeah.
what? Again,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wow. I go, I got this. And the
Yeah.
man just sat down. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And the case next called, because you don't know when you're going to be called. But anyway, my case was called next. I did my argument. It's 20 minutes long. And I did my whole spiel. I won it too, by the way. And I go, great. And I sit back down. And after I left,
He was
the man
gone.
with the dog left.
Yeah.
That was it.
Wow.
Wow.
That's funny.
Isn't
Yeah.
that weird?
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah.
That's wild.
There's a lot of bizarre coincidences
There-
out there.
And I think there's so much that we just don't know.
Yeah.
Like there's, I would never say, oh, I don't believe in that. There's so much we just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It's like my sister Monica when we were growing up in the scary house. She had an imaginary friend.
Oh, that's another thing.
Yeah, Mitigan. It had a name, Mitigan. Where
Jason-
did that name
Jason
come from?
had an imaginary
And
friend.
I
she
hear
used
that.
to always she sent me her little story.
Okay.
And she said, when I was a little girl and we lived in beautiful but sometimes scary brownstone in Brooklyn, I had a friend who lived in our bedroom closet.
Oh.
I called him Mitigan. Sometimes I would go upstairs and open the closet door and play with him, and we would just talk and laugh, and he always made me smile. My family referred to him as my imaginary friend, but he was very real to me. I was never afraid. It was quite peaceful. In hindsight, I believe he was a lost soul, a ghost. When I think about it today, I feel that in some way he needed me, and possibly in some way I needed him.
Okay, I'm getting a little tingly. Did you ever research this property to see if there was ever anybody that lived or owned that property with a name that sounded like Mitigan?
No, but coincidentally, we, just as a joke, like we named our poltergeist that was in the house, we nicknamed him Charlie. I don't know why we did. But years later, Maureen researched the house, and somebody owned the house that lived there years ago. His name was Charles somebody. So I wonder if he was the person. Because somebody
Charles
did.
Madigan or Mitigan.
It was, I have to ask Maureen, because she did have the last name. I just don't remember it.
Research that address.
Now, are you getting
Yeah.
Research the address.
Yeah.
And see maybe tenants or news stories. There's
Yeah.
newspapers online, newspapers.com.
Oh yeah, I'm a member of
I
it.
am too.
In the
If you give
Brooklyn
me the-
Eagle, that's how I found out about my grandfather.
That's for
That's another
Oh, I
story.
can't
Family
wait to-
secrets.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. Oh my God, I have so much to tell. I know, but
I
that's.
know.
If you
Yeah,
could
and
give it
somebody
to me.
did die in the house before we moved in. When we moved
Wow.
in that house, the grass in the backyard was like that high. There was a telephone pole laying down.
Oh, wow.
And I remember this, and I should confer with my sisters, but this is a very clear memory. There was a big box of socks. And it was like as little kids, we said, oh, I guess he was so rich that he never had to, wash his socks. He probably just kept on buying them.
Right.
But somebody did die in that house, the person who lived there
He
before
died
us.
of cold feet.
Either that or hot feet, I don't know.
Oh my God,
But-
that's
He wouldn't wear socks. He put him in a box.
But as I said, like most of the activity
Oh my
happened
gosh.
in the basement. And when I was a teenager, my brother Kevin and I, we had the same group of friends. So in order to keep us under control, my parents let us hang out in the basement. So it was ours.
So funny.
We had a record player down there, we had a pool table.
Right. Was it a finished base?
No, it was a basement. It was a cellar.
It was a
It had the
cellar.
whitewashed walls and the
Okay.
concrete floor. And what we did, we took the, there's bins in the old basements.
Yeah.
So we took the walls down from the bins, they were wood, and we left them open. And in the front bin, we had all of our music set up. And then in the back bin, we had card tables, and we had a speaker that we ran the wires into the back of the basement so that when we were playing cards, because we used to play cards all the time, and listen, we could hear the music. So one day, me and my friend Valerie, I'm pretty sure it was Valerie, I'll have to ask her about that, we're still in touch. We went down in the basement, because you never went down the basement by yourself.
No.
Never, ever, ever. I don't think anybody in my family ever walked down there by themselves. If you did, you were running up those stairs to get out of there, because I remember having to go down there sometimes. And we went down in the basement, and for some reason, I don't know what it was in the daytime, and we walked into the back bin. And when we stepped in, all the lights, we had a fluorescent light, just kept on flashing, and the speaker on the wall, which was an old radio that we just rigged up because it had a speaker, fell off the wall. Well, needless to say, Valerie and I booked it out of there and ran up the stairs.
Oh yeah.
And my brother-in-law, Don, happened to be in the house. And we were saying, oh my God, Don, and this happened. And he said, and he walked us down the stairs, and we went in the back bin, and of course the light wasn't blinking anymore, but the speaker was on the table.
Oh, okay.
Now, have you either of you ever experienced, an experience, I guess, for lack of a better word, of which you could attribute to somebody just dying? I mean, in cultures, there's something like the banshee, and other sort of entities, or what is your experience?
My dad was in the hospital. He wasn't seriously ill or anything, but he was in the hospital. And so my mom was home alone, but I was home. I was visiting up there too, so I was just up there. And the next morning, I got up for breakfast or whatever, my mom goes, the doorbell rang at 2.
And I know so many people who have that story.
That happened to me.
So it was 2 o'clock in the morning. She goes, but it was a doorbell from our kitchen, which would be, they would have had to go through the garage, which was very unusual.
Yeah.
And she was like, it was the darndest thing. And a couple hours later, she got a phone call that my father's remaining cousin had just died that day. And it's funny because I had lunch with Gordy Little, who was very intuitive. He interviewed me. He was a radio broadcaster upstate, and he had a terrible way he died. But he was just the sweetest man in the world, and he had a lot of experiences. So I told him about that, and he goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Yeah, the doorbell. That's very normal."
I had that recently with not really past. Well, it's been a few years now, but Niall's uncle, his oldest uncle, Jimmy, and he was in Ireland, and Niall went for a run, and I was home in the kitchen. The front door is open, and we have a glass door, which is a full glass door from head to ceiling, and then the wood door was open. He had left maybe 10 minutes. And I'm in the kitchen, and I could see the door from where I am, and also the doorbell rang, and I look out, I go, did he forget his key? And I look, there's nobody there. And I go, oh, that's odd. And then about half hour later, the phone rang.
Oh boy.
And Jimmy had passed.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
oh.
I've had stories of people that I know who said that somebody passes.
Oh yeah, we're talking so low.
Oh, I know. Talking about ghosts. We gotta whisper.
Sorry about that. Yeah. No, it's
I was like,
Yeah.
Oh. It's not ghost. Sorry.
But my first ghost experience in that house that sticks out to me. I'm sure that there were things like there were dreams and stuff and missing shoes. I mean, I have so many things. Missing shoes that turned up months later where I left them right by my bed.
Well, they needed to wear something somewhere.
But the first one was, and last night I called my sister Nora to verify it.
Right.
I said, look, this is the way I remember it, and I'm pretty sure that you were with me. And she goes, oh yeah. And she confirmed the whole story. She and I came home from school, and we went to Catholic school, so then we changed into our street clothes, took off the uniform. And usually my mom was always home. Yeah, I mean, my mom had 10 kids. She was always there. But she had gone to the bank, and she took my younger sisters with her. And Nora and I were alone in the house. It was probably one of the first times that we were ever alone in the house.
Right.
And we went into the kitchen, and I did live in a very old house, and it had sash windows, and the kitchen window was open a little, and it closed. Now that could happen, the
Right,
sash could break,
Right.
but then the window opened.
No.
Well,
No,
Nora
thank you.
and I ran out of that house so damn fast, and we went to my friend Margaret Pringle's house. She lived,
okay.
about
Yeah,
6
yeah.
blocks away. Because we just, how do you explain that?
No.
The window could slide closed,
Right,
that could
right,
happen.
yeah.
But when that window just slowly started opening, we went, oh! And we ran out of the house.
Now let me ask this, as you're talking about that. Do you think, the ghosts have a sense of humor?
Well, that's a poltergeist. That's what a poltergeist is, a mischievous ghost. They just play tricks
okay.
on you. They're not harmful.
Right.
But then what is that? If a poltergeist is some sort of energy, if we think of it, what is the energy? Like, why then? Why do you think, does it just never want to move on? Does it?
I don't know. But I think there was more than a poltergeist in that house. Because I did see somebody in front of my brother.
Oh,
once.
that's right. I forgot.
That was like the scariest thing. There were a couple of really scary things, but that was one night when I was sitting up reading, and I always stayed up late since
Right.
I was a kid.
Right.
And I was sitting in my room, and I had my little light with my book reading. It was like late at night, probably like 1 a.m, and I heard somebody coming up the stairs. And I said, oh, it's probably my brother,
Right.
Joe. Kevin and Joe slept downstairs. All the rest of us had rooms upstairs. But they started going like slowly up the stairs.
Oh,
So
no.
I kind of like stopped reading, and I'm holding my book, and I'm facing the doorway to come into my room. There wasn't a door on it. It was just a doorway. It was an old house. And I'm kind of like just listening, and I'm kind of afraid to look. And then finally, somebody was walking in towards my room, and I turned, and I saw my brother, but in front of my brother there was a man with red hair. Like I could see his face, the red-headed man. And I went like, and my brother said, Peggy, it's me. And then the apparition went away. But there was somebody there. There was somebody else there.
Wait, Niall.
Say it again.
The man with red hair.
He's
When you first saw Niall.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she
Oh,
first,
God.
I don't remember that story.
when she
Kinda
first, in
Alright.
the bar. Go ahead.
Okay, so when I met my husband, I'm sorry, no. But anyway, so I'm going to have to just, because this kind of reminds me a lot of it, is when I met my husband, I was with my friend Stephanie, and I didn't want to, I have Stephanie to thank for meeting my husband, because I didn't want to go to this bar in any way. And I wanted to go somewhere else. She goes, no. I said, let's go here first.
There's a cute bartender.
No, I had nothing to do with the bar. We were supposed to meet, I think our friend Sue or somebody was supposed to be there. We were supposed to meet. I was like, fine, we'll go there first, but then we're leaving. Okay. So we go there, and it was a busy night, and there was one bartender on, and we didn't, we were poor, so we had beers packed in our purse. We were law students, so we didn't have any money. And so we always do the right thing. We buy the first beer.
And tip the bartender, I hope.
So anyway, so we go to the bar, and I go to buy the first beer, and I see Niall, and I go, I didn't see Niall. There was a wolf in front of Niall's face. A wolf. I mean, I didn't even see what he looked like, and I was like, oh my God, this guy, this
He
bar.
looks like a wolf.
I said that. I told Stephanie, I go, this man looks like a wolf. And she's like, oh, yeah. I said, no, doesn't he look like a wolf?
Maybe Nyla's a werewolf.
Well, I was like, there was like this wolf hovering over his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And it was like, it was a wolf.
I get
there-
what the animals.
I get
do,
it. It was a wolf. And
true.
so she orders the beer. I don't even remember who ordered it. We had the one beer. We finished it quickly. And then we sit out on the patio, of course. And then we are out. And so it's really crowded. We don't want to go back up. We just drink our own beer. But of course, Niall being Niall, he's so on top of everything. He notices that we're drinking, of
Yeah.
course, that one beer that they
Yeah.
don't serve there.
Was it wolfhead beer?
They were Michelob Lights.
Oh God,
And
that's
so-
disgusting.
Hey, we were poor. So he comes over and he's like, "Where'd you get those?" And I said, "I bought them," which was not a lie. It wasn't. You know?
You did buy them.
I did
Yeah.
buy them. And so he grabs them and I'm like, "Oh my God, Stephanie!" Now, you know,
He took your
he
beer.
took our beers
The
away.
wolf took our beer.
And I said, "Oh my God, I
Big bad
because
wolf.
what I had told Stephanie beforehand, I forgot the most important part. I was like, I'm going to marry this guy. She goes,
I remember- that's
she
what I
goes,
remember
this
you
guy?
saying.
I said, the wolf man. I'm going to marry this man. I didn't even speak to him yet. I didn't even order
Yeah.
my business. That's the guy I'm going to marry.
Is that before he took your beers away?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because then I yelled at her again. I said, now I'm never going to marry this guy because you got me in trouble. And so she's like, you're not going to marry him. I said, oh, I'm going to marry him. But I said, now if I don't, it's your fault. Because she convinced me to bring these beers in. And so then we were going to leave, but then 5 minutes later, he comes back with a whole round of Sam Adams.
Aww.
And for
That's much better than
much,
Michelob
so
Light.
much better. And I never had a paper beer again. And I did to Stephanie. You're welcome, Stephanie. And so, of course, but what I had to say is, I didn't know what that meant or whatever it was. And of course, I ended up marrying him. Didn't know that at the time
Yeah.
that we would get married, but I did know. But I didn't. You know, how
Right,
would I know?
right.
Yeah.
When we ended up living together, we got engaged, married, all this stuff, I ended up unpacking some boxes, and they were medicine cards, which are Native American, kind of like tarot cards. And years before then, I had been introduced to medicine cards, and I was given a reading. And in the theory of Native American, there's a totem animal. I'm talking 10 years before, probably.
Yeah.
I forget. Out falls a piece of paper where somebody gave me a reading. My totem animal, which means the
Wow.
animal that you see, which is supposed to lead you to important life decisions in
Oh,
life.
wow.
Out was the wolf.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so to see, like,
And now that was before you met Niall?
at least
10 years?
10 years.
Yeah.
I had forgotten
Wow.
the existence of these cards. I had forgotten the
Yeah.
existence of this read. I didn't even remember. I hadn't looked at it. Probably, I got the reading, probably shoved the paper in there, and forgot all
Yeah.
about it.
So for Halloween, you need to go as Little Red Riding Hood.
I love them. My house, if you know him, he will never do a joint costume. He is
Yeah.
not that way.
I can't blame him. But
Yeah.
you know what? I hear my little dogs pattering around.
It's
They're very
dinner
hungry.
time.
It's
Yeah.
dinner
Yeah.
time. And if you're still with us, we really appreciate it. Thank you. We'd love to know if you have any ghost stories. Micah is telling me that we could do a whole nother
Oh my
show.
goodness, I have so many ghost stories I could tell.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell the
I
best
haven't
ones.
even cracked the surface.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we hope you're enjoying the podcast. Please tell your friends about it and share it. And I'm not sure what our next one's going to be about, what the topic is.
I know my topic, but
Well,
I don't
I'm
have
the
the
next topic.
Oh, you're the
Okay.
next.
So I'm either doing, what did I tell you I was going to do? Family
Family
secrets. I'm
Let's do that
probably
one.
going
Let's
to
do
do.
that. Family secrets.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
You don't have to tell real secrets.
I've got a lot.
okay.
I'll tell real ones.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Don't ghost their podcast.
All right, bye everybody.
All right, bye.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, we really. This was.
That was fun.
Wow, that was a lot.
It was a
Yeah,
lot.
that was